rush 3, drop 8. Now a late rush thrown up for grabs in the end zone. How does this one end? Incomplete. Right down to the nub.
Hi everybody, I'm Missi Matthews and welcome to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. Not a good trip to Cleveland once again for the Pittsburgh Steelers, falling to the Browns 24-18. Joining me to break things down today is former Steeler JMU Hall of Famer Arthur Moats. Moats, you've lived this one before, having to go to Cleveland. It was a short week. Your biggest takeaway from this loss?
Man, big thing that I thought was we got beat in the trenches, offensively and defensively. When you think about where we've spent the most of our draft picks of lately, it's on the offensive line. When we talk about where we spent the most money defensively, it's in the trenches. And in games where we weren't able to dominate that, this is when it gets like that. That was kind of my big takeaway. And then from there, you allowed a team to have some life. You left it close late in the game. And now at this level, all it takes is one play or two plays being made, and now we kind of got that uneasy feeling at the end of the game that we experienced, unfortunately.
All right, I like to call it ended in a snowball fight, the back and forth.
Literally.
But we're going to go through it from the very beginning, so let's start things off. And it was not snowing at the very beginning of the game. It was just little flurries. You could barely see it if you were watching at home under a blanket, comfy on your couch. But it just felt like the Steelers were not able to get into a rhythm offensively.
Yeah, early on, I mean, you see the explosive play right here by Jaylen Warren, but just not enough consistency winning the line of scrimmage, winning those trenches. I thought early on, though, I liked the aggressiveness from Arthur Smith with his play calling. You see even right here with another explosive play by Moats. I mean, one of 6 explosive passes that Russ was able to complete that night. But unfortunately, too much of this right here.
Yeah, hat trick for Myles Garrett in the first half.
Yeah.
Those 3 sacks.
Forced fumble as well.
He's a known commodity. You knew that you had to pay attention to where he was going. I think he also, had some choice words this week. I think he was stirring the pot a little bit. Your team only had 2 wins coming into this, but he came to play.
No, he definitely did. And I felt like their team responded along with, we can't overlook it, the Jameis effect. That positivity that he presents, it gave that team hope. And you have a missed field goal, now all of a sudden, they're starting to feel confident. I love what I saw from Najee early on. Nice run right here. Trying to, like I said, establish that physicality, which we know is a brand for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Beautiful moon ball right here going down the grass. GP coming up with a big highlight reel catch. I mean, we expect this each and every week. As we said, these aren't 50-50 balls with GP. No. It's more like an 80-20 when it comes to him.
Absolutely, and he brings his A game. I mean, we've seen some of his craziest catches actually happen in Cleveland. I remember his rookie year, that one on the, right on the sideline. You just defied logic.
No, absolutely. And once again, man, here you go right here. Russ trying to just keep the offense on schedule. And unfortunately, we came up a little bit short, but I like the aggressive mentality of going for it. Unfortunately, execution, not what we wanted it to be right there. And now you continue to give a 2-8 team life. You see them guys jumping around. They're not used to having success like that this season. They're used to going the opposite direction. But unfortunately, they make a play right here. And now we have to respond to it.
That was, one of the first times we saw Justin Fields a little bit more this game compared to what we saw against the Ravens. What did you think of his usage this week?
I mean, I liked it, especially on the heels of what we saw Taysom Hill with the Saints do against this same Browns defense. So I like the evolution of it with Arthur Smith, but don't lose sight of the deep ball. And that was what I thought we had a nice balance of with Russ hitting Calvin Austin right there. But once again, you can kind of see the pressure getting there. Not a lot of people downfield to get to. And instead of us being able to punch this in and potentially get 7 points, we're having to settle for a 48-yard field goal, which has kind of been the talk right now. Red zone efficiency, how do we continue to be explosive when the field starts to condense?
Well, and that would be 7 straight field goals for Chris Boswell before the Steelers are able to find the end zone. If you go back to the Ravens game, he had 6 there. Obviously the miss, but counting on him a lot doesn't always work, especially when you have a team that's starting to get hot. Jerry Jeudy, somebody we saw throughout the entire night, and they were able to build a lead.
Yeah, this was one of those guys that kind of turned back the clock and gave us the college version of Jerry Jeudy right here. The amount of catches, the run after. I mean, this was why he was drafted where he was coming out of Alabama. But I would also say that quarterback number 5, Jameis Winston, they had a nice little rapport going on. And that's the unfortunate part. At this level, everybody is good enough. They can get hot. They can get a little bit of a rhythm. And from there, you're just trying to make a play. You're trying to figure out how can we stop them. But this is where they had their best drive really of the night. You can see the momentum for them kind of picking up. They're starting to believe it. The bittersweet or gift and the curse of 24 being back. Obviously, we know his journey. We know what happened a year ago when we played him. And it was beautiful to see him back, except when he was doing this type of stuff.
Why were they so effective of running the ball, especially early on where the Steelers were having issues?
Yeah, once again, you see those big guys up front, Joe Batonio and company. I thought that they did a good job of winning the offensive line of scrimmage. And then you fast forward to our side and you see what? Multiple guys in the backfield. Myles Garrett obviously is there to make a strip sack. But that was the flip side. When we dominate the trenches, we are very tough to deal with. Instead, we have two guys running back there. One guy gets the strip sack. And now, turnover, short field.
Yeah, that one, I think there, you're thinking, okay, we're almost at halftime. Let's get some points on the board.
Get some positivity.
Right, but unfortunately for the Steelers, it was the Browns who were able to put more points on the board heading into halftime with a 10-3 lead. And it felt like, at least what Coach Tomlin said at half, stop Myles Garrett. That helps the offense stay on schedule and things can get rolling. What else were you thinking at that point?
Yeah, the other part that I was saying to myself was, for this defense, all season they have been doing an excellent job of not allowing points following a turnover. Unfortunately, they were able to get 3 points right there, and I just felt like as a whole, we left some opportunities out there on that field. I thought that opening possession, the sack really messed up the rhythm of it. If we don't have that sack, number one, it's a way more makeable field goal attempt for Boz, and secondly, if we don't give up the sack, maybe we get a first down, and now we're talking about scoring points on that opening drive, which I think would have had a different feel to it. I know when you lose to a 2-18, the mindset is you played down to your competition or you weren't, out the gate trying to be aggressive. I don't think that was the case. I thought that we tried to be aggressive. We saw some of those fourth down attempts. It was just the execution. I mean, we looked at the Justin Fields play.
Right.
It looked like it was back and forth with the decision-making process of if they wanted to go for it, and then just the overall timing of it. I mean, I see one guy getting set. I see two guys pulling one way, Fields going the other way. It just looked like they weren't all on the same page. And on a night like how it was last night, you have to execute in those critical moments, especially when you're trying to be aggressive on those weightier downs being fourth down.
All right, let's go to the second half. It did start to snow a little bit more throughout the second half. I can attest to it.
More snow and more points, oddly enough.
Which makes no sense, but the Browns got the ball to start things off, and the Steelers defense, they came to play this half.
I mean, absolutely. 3 turnovers in the second half. Right here was the first one. Beautiful job by Deshaun Elliott. And this is fundamental. This is what you teach at the Steelers youth football camps. Put your head on the football, head up, tackling. This is coaching tape right here. But excellent job in the open field. Square the defender up. You have Mika on the inside, so vice tackle it and attack that football with your helmet. Beautiful job right there, and I love the fact that we were able to go ahead and get that recovery. And now we're trying to get some complimentary football going.
But this did not work out in the Steelers' favor. And again, this is something that typically, even going back to the Ravens game, you would see them take advantage of, even if it was just 3 points.
Absolutely. Points off of turnovers are critical. That's why we always talk about winning the turnover battle. If I can take possessions from you and then turn around and get points, this is a great night. But unfortunately, we get our second fourth down stop. And now this Browns team is feeling even more confident because not only did they get a stop, but now they're getting it on a short field. And here comes the weather.
It looked pretty at first, felt like you were in a snow globe, the football edition. But then I think you quickly realized as their field crew had to keep their shovels going, trying to clear the lines. I mean, it doesn't look bad now, but it did. And there we see Van Jefferson and some more rhythm happening on the Steelers offense.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the odd combination of more snow. It seemed like we were able to throw the ball a lot better down the grass. And, I mean, you even see Russ right here turning back the clock and using his legs a little bit right there.
He wants to win. He was ready to do whatever it took.
But here we go once again, pressure. Excellent job in terms of delivering a catchable ball to prior move on the sideline, situationally aware while taking the big hit. And then here we come again. A nice completion right there to GP. Unfortunately, I couldn't even tell where the first down marker was with the snow. And good luck to whoever saw this actually be made. We just know it's good somehow, some way, but I still don't know where that ball is.
I promise in person you could tell it was a perfect Boz field goal. I think the TV camera is a little off there, but All right, so now we're moving into the fourth quarter with a 10-6 lead for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and here we go once again, man. You see the perfection on fourth downs for the Cleveland Browns. And now, complimentary football. They get the first down, and now they take a shot right there to the young guy, Akins, getting called up. And here we go. Jameis is giving us his John Elway impersonation. Goes up top, and now they are all the way believing that they have a chance tonight. And this is what you fear when you talk about some of these teams that don't have a lot of success consistently in the season. You do not want to give them life or let them think that they have a chance late in the game. And unfortunately, because of how it played out, now you're here down double-digit points. And yeah, we're forced to make a play. And unfortunately, Njoku just adds to that. And we saw how critical this two-point conversion proved to be, so to speak, in terms of how the point differential worked out in the end.
Yeah, and I think, Coach Tomlin talked to Bob Labriola for his pregame radio show and called Winston a gunslinger. So he's going to take a shot. And sometimes the gunslinger gets shot, but that that's there. And here we see Fields again. This was a huge pickup. I really think if he could have made that last guy miss, maybe we're talking about finding the end zone. And I know after the game he also said just trying to keep himself warm to be ready to go when his number was called.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges of being a part of a rotation. I will say with Justin Fields, I love his readiness though. That 30-yard pickup is not easy to do, especially with those elements. And obviously we had a nice block by Connor Hayward. But right here, his ability to, you drew a 15-yard penalty. That's big. That helps us get closer down here. And ultimately we know how this drive ended, but Justin Fields did a great job in the sense of providing a spark when we needed it in this sequence of events right here.
Yeah, were you surprised they let Justin Fields throw when Russ was having so much success in the air?
To an extent, yes, but because of how Taysom Hill impacted this Browns defense, I could totally understand it. And this is a prime example. With Fields being out there, those linebackers, that safety has to hold an extra count, and it allows Jaylen Warren to find his gap in there. It allows that offensive line to get in position a little bit better for their blocks. And now this is where I felt like we were really starting to heat up.
Yes. Heating up, yes. And then, and kudos to Nick Herbig coming back from injury. He was injured in the Cowboys game. Last week we saw the impact he had, not just in forcing fumbles and helping recover them, but that 2-point play.
Massive.
Credit to him and what he was able to do against the Ravens. Yes, okay, great.
Beautiful, beautiful right here in terms of the complimentary football. You get a turnover on defense, you come right back, dagger them with a touchdown. Beautiful 23-yard reception for the touchdown. Calvin Austin splitting the safeties. This is what you want to see. And I love the hands catch. I love his detail in terms of how he's been working and his overall just maturation since coming to the team.
Are you thinking at this point, though, there's too much time?
To an extent, yes, but I'm also saying this is Jameis. He's going to do Jameis things, But instead, we're getting more Alabama Jerry Jeudy right here, looking good. But this is where, once again, I'm like, oh, it's happening. Dante Jackson, beautiful interception.
His fourth with the Steelers. That ties his career record from his rookie year. And he's just been one of those guys that has a knack for finding the ball, and he holds on to it.
No, absolutely. He's been a breath of fresh air. And you think about last year was his first time throughout his career not having a turnover, so it's a nice response by him. But unfortunately down here, we're having this debate of, do you throw the flag? Do you not throw the flag? It's just one of those unfortunate sequences. And then we get the unfortunate punt. We can talk about some of the protection. Either way, you have to deliver a better punt. Unfortunately, we don't. And we see the field position it sets that team up with late in the game.
And 322 as well. And Corliss Waitman praised for what he's been able to do.
Yeah,
we haven't
been
mentioned
amazing
him.
at times, seriously.
And that's a good thing, but not the time for this to happen, unfortunately. And for the Browns, who, as you said, were still rolling. It was only a point. Just needed a field goal to win it or a touchdown, obviously. And they were able to move the chains. Yeah,
once again, another fourth down completion right here. We said it, man. They put it on the line multiple times. They were 1 of 10 on third down. Realistically, when you're that bad on third downs, it should be a great night for the defense. But the fourth down situations, that kind of changed the dynamic. And then this was the weird for us watching it. We're like, yo, he caught intentional grounding.
The ref 100% signaled for that. It was very confusing. I know even some of the Steelers assistant coaches were trying to figure out what was happening, and especially for the guys on the field as well. And obviously this went a very different way.
You talk about a bad break, and then obviously the next play is what? Jerry Jeudy picking up the first down. Now we're all having this debate of, do you believe that the defense can get the stop? Do you worry about the time? Do you allow them to score? All these different strategies come into play. And unfortunately, Nick Chubb is able to get that touchdown late. Obviously, with us having, under a minute left in this game now.
At that point, are you thinking there is enough time for something to possibly happen, or it's almost just not enough?
I felt like we did have time, but we had to be almost perfect on this drive. And I like how we started it out right here, getting Moof, a nice pickup. But we know when you get that completion in the middle of the field, the clock is not your friend. And now you have to ask yourself, is yardage more important than time? And this was one of those plays right here that kind of hurt us. I mean, you see the clock rolling, and unfortunately, now we're forced to, sit for a Hail Mary situation. And we obviously know how this one kind of played out. Got some jostling going on out there. As much as I would love for them to have thrown the flag, because what coverage is, going on against George Pickens, we obviously know that they do officiate that particular play a little bit differently, unfortunately, or fortunately, just depending on who you are at the times, because of the Hail Mary variety. But just one of those nights, man, where you allow enough little things to start going, and then it snowballs, and now you have a confident team late in this game. And all it took was literally a delay of game versus it being an intentional grounding. And now instead of it being fourth down, we get the ball and it's over, or you're having to take a chance. Now it's 3rd and 7 and they get a chance to get life, and we obviously saw the game ended.
And the officiating crew, though, it felt like they were letting these teams play. It didn't feel like it was one-sided.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's one of those things, man, when we're talking about, the officials. I'm a defensive guy, so I love when they allow some of the physicality to go on, because I feel like for us as defenders, we always get the bad end of the stick. If you bump the guy too much, flag. If you tug him a little bit, flag. Whereas on offense, guys could push off. So the way they called it last night, I didn't have a real issue with it. I just thought that it was one of those ones where the breaks didn't go our way, unfortunately.
All right, so it's like a mini bye weekend now for the Steelers. They don't play until next Sunday, but it's in Cincinnati. Then the Browns come to Pittsburgh. So there's going to be the bad blood. What is the key for this team to get back to what they were doing when they were on that 5-game winning streak? Yeah,
the big thing they have to understand is we are a more physical team in the trenches. When we do that each and every week in terms of blocking and being able to win up front defensively, we are always going to be tough. And I think you got to go back and challenge those guys. They know what they are capable of. We know what the expectations are for that group. I feel like once that gets back to where it's supposed to be, everything else falls in line. I mean, Russ was 21 of 28 for 270 in a blizzard with a touchdown. We saw Justin Fields, even when he was cold on the sideline, still looked like the fastest guy on the field. So there is some confidence in there, but we don't want to seek comfort either. But we have to seek that solution, and that solution is get back to the trenches. We know we win when we're more physical.
And it's like you played for Coach Tomlin before with some of the things that you say. So weird, Mo. It's so weird.
Hey, and unfortunately, I might have taken that long bus ride back after a not so good performance out there as well. So we live and we learn. We live and we learn.
The 2-hour bus ride sometimes feels a little bit longer.
Absolutely. We don't want too many of those, though.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me here in studio today. And thanks to everybody for watching the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. Have a great weekend. We'll see everybody after the Cincinnati game.